So, on the tail end of my last post, my last audio about my mum, I think it's perfect time now to sort of divulge a little story about my pilgrimage. Wow, I've been back to Slovakia now for 9 months. Which in so many ways feels like it was that I've just being able to make these audios is like a sort of birthing after this 9 months. I couldn't articulate what I'm about to say. I've started to, and I knew a few months back I finally gave the name, the pilgrimage, to my stay at my parents'. It was 14 months in total, unbeknownst to me that I would be there that long, so long so that people questioned that I would ever return to Slovakia, which of course I knew I would. Slovakia is my home. My parents are my love. They're always, wherever they are is home too. But Slovakia is sort of my I don't know, my purpose. I'm supposed to be here. In any case, different. It was a really interesting time. It was like being in, I suppose, what people would equate to university, or a pilgrimage, really a massive time of expansion and growth. For not just me, but for all of us. I know that I kind of intended on being there for like 2 or 3 months, and you know, when I first got there, I was like, oh gosh, I've got to make money. I need to get a job. I need to do this. I need to pay my debts. I need to do that. You know, all the sort of usual grind, hustle, whatever you want to call it, stuff. And it wasn't that at all. And I think it was when it came out of my father's mouth, and I don't remember why, what the circumstances were. I think it actually had to do with my grandmother, his mum, who I just got into a flow of taking care of. She's quite elderly. I think she's how old am I? I think she's 92 now, around there anyhow. And she was having some issues, so I finally was putting together a program, you know, a sort of wellness program that I would launch online, etc., etc. Except she kind of, in the best of ways, got in my way. And I threw everything aside and was taking care of her. Not 24/7, nothing like that, but there was a period whereby she needed to be in hospital. We had to take her to emergency, and quite frankly, my father couldn't do it alone, and Mum couldn't help out for whatever reason, so I was the one who jumped in, and begrudgingly at first, because I really wanted to do my program, and I wasn't meant to. In any case, the thing that my father said, which was very surprising for me, was, you're here for a reason. And not alluding to anything, not like taking care of your grandma or whatever. But he just said to me, you're here for a reason. Now, I knew that. But to hear it come out of him gave me great solace. And I started to relax and not be so bent on finding a job and doing the usual thing, and just sort of being. Now, if you ask my parents about what I did while I was at Sanctuary 143, I think my mom would say to you a whole lot of jack shit. Maybe not in those words exactly, but she would say to you, I did a whole lot of nothing. Or she would have said to you that whilst I was there. Truth be told, there was a lot of stillness, and I would spend a lot of time sat at the on the deck in the backyard, just looking straight ahead, just taking in the trees, her flowers, my parents, their garden, the sky, the birds. My goodness, I knew what different kinds of birds were around by their sounds. I there was a bird's nest with three babies that I hadn't heard before, and recognized the chirping of these babies and found the nest. I mean, it was brilliant. It was brilliant solitary times. And oftentimes I spent in solitude downstairs in my room. There was no kitchen in the basement. Had there been, I never would have come up, I think. No, that's not true. I quite enjoyed cooking for the family and being with them. But I did sort of retreat into my space when I needed to, which was quite often. And if I wasn't in my room, and I can't even tell you what I was doing, but actually sometimes it was healing. Sometimes I was quite ill and didn't really say much about it, didn't really show up upstairs, and just drank lots of water and healed physically and not just physically, of course. And then also my mum's design studio is downstairs in the basement, adjacent to my room, separated by a wall, of course. And so if I wasn't alone, sort of drawing or doing a whole lot of nothing or reading or whatever, I was designing. And I came to learn that I really it was many years in which I had not designed. I was more focused on fitness and nutrition for the past since I moved to England back in 2005, and then now it being 2016 and 17. I hadn't really done much sewing. I finally just got my sewing machine back from London to Slovakia after numerous years. So I had done a bit of sewing in 2016, but when I got home, I started again. And the stuff that I was doing was way more intricate than I'd ever done before, and quite spot on. And I realized that I'd really slowed down the way I was doing things and really took the time and patience to do things that I'd always wanted to. And I would say that I fall more in line with a couturier, paying attention to fine detail, doing things by hand, than ever before. I didn't really realize that about myself. I was always quite in a rush, but whilst I was at Sanctuary 143, I really did take my time doing things. And I would say the first part of my journey there was sort of coming to terms with my father and who and what he is and what he's become and the amazing, beautiful man that he is. And the latter half was really reconciling with my mum, and I realized I was carrying a lot of anger towards her, and that was just being reciprocated back to me, of course. And it was really me who had to do something about it, right? I say this all the time in my posts, and I said it often in other videos and whatever, and that is to be the change that you wish to see. So I knew that whatever butting of the heads that my mum and I were doing was up to me to change. And so I did. And I shared the story about her and I telling each other to fuck off, and that was really hilarious. And I tell you, it was really pivotal. It was a really big changing point for both of us. Not to say that you should go and do that and just tell your parents to fuck off, or tell anyone to fuck off for that matter. But I mean, we did it with great intention, I think, and it turned out really, really well, and it elevated us to a new level. And I think something had to give, something had to happen for us to get to that new level. And often, to expand, it takes some contrast, and it depends on how long you want to sit in that contrast, whether it's 15 minutes, as I did, or 15 years, as I've done before. In any case, gosh, leaving Sanctuary 143 was, it was, I always knew I was going to come back to Slovakia. I always knew that, I mean, this is home, or in the very least, this is my platform to jump from. And they are the love of my life, my parents. I suppose this is the direction that this audio is taking. There's a really neat thing that happened with my father, and I'd love to share that. And it was this. There was my brother and sister who live at Sanctuary 143 with my parents. The four of them have been talking about doing a trip to India for a while, and that was often coming up in conversation, and I never saw myself as part of it. It wasn't something that I needed to do, and whatever. So, in any case, one day I sat downstairs and I got a message on WhatsApp from my father, and he said to me something along the lines of, "Look, I really want you to come with us. I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to cover everything, and don't you worry. And I really want you to be with us." And I sat there and I just breathed that in. I just took it all in and I cried. And because I thought it was so beautiful and so lovely, I think perhaps it came from a pang of guilt from my father that they're arranging this trip, or they're talking a lot about it, and I'm not included, which for me was always fine. I didn't, like I said, it wasn't the thing for me to do. It was for the four of them to do. I really had a feeling of that. I really had an understanding of that. In any case, I went upstairs and I just sat down and I pulled myself together, all my tears and everything. And I said to my dad, I was like, "Look, thank you so much for that offer. It was really beautiful and very kind of you, but now more than ever, I know that I don't need to go to India. I don't need to go anywhere. You guys aren't my India. You aren't my roots. You are my everything." And that was it. And there were so many experiences like that I had with him, and then with Mum, and that we continue to have via WhatsApp. We don't really do face to face that often, which is okay, which is totally okay. But we're in this place where sometimes I feel like they're my children, sometimes I feel like they're my kids, and it's this most wonderful, beautiful feeling. And then there's the other times when, oh gosh, I really want my mum for whatever, I really want my dad, and everything at the same time is okay. It's really okay. I get the most beautiful messages from them in the mornings. Not every morning, but and I'm sure my siblings get the same messages via WhatsApp, and it's this sort of sent to all my kids sort of thing. But it's really lovely. It's really lovely, and I can say that the unplanned, short stay with my parents ended up being one of the most transformative times of my life. That still continues to change me and continues to rock my world, just as this experience I'm having right now with the beautiful family, my dear friends and their children and their dog and two chickens, who I've been with for the last 9 months, which I'm sure actually this also is another pilgrimage from one to another that I'll be able to articulate once I'm no longer here, but I can only say that it's incredibly special. It's all incredibly special. So there you go. That's my first speaking aloud of what it was. What was my 14 months at home, turning 40 and 41 with dad, mum, Nikki, and Sunny, which was truly something special. Thank you for listening. And yeah, this is the birthing of something really new for me. So yeah, God bless you. Thank you.